7 cadets were hospitalized in under 10 seconds. The official report says it was self-defense. The footage says it was mercy. Officer Plixon Cord here. And let me tell you something about my job that nobody mentions in the recruitment hollows. Sure, they talk about maintaining order, protecting cadets, ensuring galactic harmony, blah blah blah. What they don't tell you is that some days you're going to sit in a dark review room, watching security footage that makes you question every life choice that led you to this moment. Today is one of those days. The timestamp reads 1847 hours. Station time. Location: the main cafeteria at Galactic Naval Academy, Section 7. You know the place. 300 tables. Terrible lighting that makes everyone look either purple or jaundiced depending on their skin chemistry. And food that technically qualifies as edible under 47 different species standards, which means it tastes like recycled cargo bay insulation to everyone. On my screen I can see the usual chaos. Cadets from a dozen worlds grabbing their nutrition packs, laughing, arguing about tactical theory, doing whatever young idiots do when they're training to fly warships. Normal stuff. Boring stuff. The kind of stuff that lets me daydream about my pension. Then I see them. 7 figures moving through the crowd with that special kind of swagger that screams trouble. Let me introduce you to these geniuses. Leading the pack is Vreckenthal, a Korthian who stands about 7 feet tall with arms like industrial cables and a head that looks like someone glued rocks to a boulder. Behind him, his 2 cronies, Zeph and Morik, twin brothers from the Yulton Reach, each sporting 4 arms and attitudes that could strip paint. Rounding out this collection of bad decisions, we've got Dren, a Scalix with toxic skin secretions and a brain apparently made of the same stuff. Then there's Cove and Tillix, both Etherian bruisers who think their crystalline bone structure makes them invincible. Finally, Gorn, a Pelaxian whose species is literally classified as megafauna. 7 bullies. Different species, one shared characteristic: complete and utter stupidity. I watch them scan the cafeteria like predators looking for prey. They're laughing, shoving smaller cadets out of the way, knocking trays off tables. Standard bully protocol. Security should have stepped in right here, but and this pains me to admit, we were dealing with a protein dispenser malfunction on level 9. Priorities right? Wrong. Because what these 7 walking examples of failed evolutionary selection didn't know, couldn't know, refused to believe even when the universe was screaming it at them, was that they were about to make the worst tactical decision in the history of this academy. They were about to mess with a human. There he is. Camera 3 catches him perfectly. Cadet Riker Donovan, sitting alone at a corner table working through what I can only assume is some kind of Deathworld protein brick that probably requires a hazard warning label on 6 civilized planets. Let me paint you a picture. Riker isn't particularly tall by Korthian standards, maybe 6 feet, 6 inches if you're being generous. Compared to Vrecken's 7 feet, he looks almost average. Almost, but here's the thing about humans that gets me every single time. They're built like they were designed by a committee that couldn't agree on anything except lethality. Broad shoulders. Sure, lots of species have those. But the way humans carry themselves, it's different. Riker sits there with this relaxed posture, like he's lounging at a beach resort instead of a military academy cafeteria. One arm draped over the back of his chair, the other casually holding his fork. His eyes, and this is what unnerves me watching the footage, his eyes are constantly moving, scanning, assessing, processing threat vectors without even thinking about it. Humans do that. All of them. It's not training, it's genetics. They come from a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill them in creative ways, so they evolved into these paranoid, hyper-aware survival machines wrapped in surprisingly fragile-looking skin. And the smile. Oh, ancestors help me. The smile. Riker's got this slight smirk on his face while he eats, like he's listening to a private joke that the rest of the universe isn't in on. Spoiler alert, the joke is usually about how everyone else is underestimating him. Here's what you need to understand about Deathworlders. Earth, humanity's homeworld, has a gravity classification of 1.2 standard. Their atmosphere is corrosive enough to rust metal. Their sun blasts them with radiation that would cook most species. They have apex predators on every continent, some in the oceans, a few in the air for good measure. And humans sat at the top of that nightmare food chain, not because they were the biggest or the fastest or the strongest. They got there because they were the meanest, most stubborn, most adaptable pack hunters their planet ever produced. Every human cadet at this academy grew up in conditions that would qualify as a military endurance trial on 40 other worlds. They think it's normal. They call it childhood. So when I watch Vrecken and his 6 buddies start walking toward Riker's table, I actually pause the footage and pour myself a drink. Because I know what's coming. I've read the reports from other stations, other incidents. I've seen what happens when you corner something that evolved to be cornered. The bullies don't know this. They see a lone cadet smaller than them, outnumbered 7-1. They see an easy target. They see wrong. Vrecken reaches the table first, naturally. Alpha bully syndrome. He slams one massive hand down on the surface, and I mean slams it. The sound echoes through the cafeteria like a gunshot. Trays rattle, drinks spill. 3 nearby cadets actually jump in their seats. Riker doesn't even blink. He just keeps chewing, eyes moving up slowly to regard Vrecken with all the concern you'd give a mildly interesting stain on the wall. He swallows, takes a sip of whatever horrifying beverage humans consider drinkable. Probably something with enough caffeine to kill a Pelaxian, and then speaks. The audio quality on cafeteria cameras isn't great, but I've enhanced it. Trust me. You want to hear this. Tables taken, Riker says. His voice is flat, bored. The kind of tone you use when you're explaining something obvious to someone very stupid. Vrecken leans in, all 7 feet of rock-faced intimidation. I don't think you understand the situation, human. This is our section. You're in our spot. Your spot. Riker sets down his fork with deliberate care. Funny. I don't see your name on it. Did you lick it? Is that a Korthian thing? Territorial licking. I actually laugh, watching this. I shouldn't. But I do. The ball's on this human. Zeph and Morik circle around to flank Riker's sides. All 8 arms crossed in what they probably think is a threatening display. The other 4 bullies spread out, forming a loose perimeter. Classic intimidation formation. 7-on-1. Textbook. And here's where it gets interesting. Watch the other cadets. Camera 5 catches it beautifully. A Valorian cadet, 3 tables over, takes one look at the situation and grabs his tray. Just stands up and walks away. Fast. A group of Syntherian students follow, then more. It's like watching water drain from a basin. Within 15 seconds, a 20-table radius around Riker is completely empty. They know. Maybe not consciously, but on some primal level, every non-human in that cafeteria understands that they're watching a bomb with a lit fuse. Vrecken hasn't figured this out yet. He's too busy trying to stare down a human which, and let me be clear about this, is like trying to stare down a natural disaster. It doesn't care, and you're just wasting your last few moments. Get up, Vrecken growls, or we make you get up. Riker tilts his head slightly, and I swear on my pension, he looks disappointed. Not scared, not angry, disappointed. Like a teacher watching a student fail a test they studied for. Let me make sure I understand, Riker says slowly, deliberately. You 7, you want me, one human, to stand up and leave because you've decided this is your table. That's the play here. That's the play, Deathworlder. Dren spits the last word like an insult. His toxic skin is already flushing that angry purple. That means his secretions are active. Unless you want to find out why we run this section. Riker nods thoughtfully. Then he stands up. For just a second I think maybe he's going to walk away. Maybe he's going to be the bigger person. Maybe, just maybe, I won't have to file the galaxy's most depressing incident report. Then I see his stance, feet shoulder-width apart, weight on the balls of his feet, hands loose at his sides, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. Oh no. Okay, Riker says, and his smile widens just a fraction. Let's find out. That's when Vrecken makes his move. The clock starts now. I've watched this footage 47 times. I've slowed it down. I've analyzed every frame. I've consulted with combat instructors, xenobiologists, and one very drunk physicist who kept muttering about reaction times and calling me a liar. It takes 7 seconds. Let me break this down for you. Because if I just described it at normal speed, you'd think I was making it up. Second 1. Vrecken throws a haymaker that could dent a shuttle hull. It's a good punch, proper form, all that mass behind it. Riker isn't there anymore. He's ducked under it, rotated his entire body and driven his elbow up into Vrecken's ribcage with enough force that I can actually see the shock wave ripple through the Korthian's chest. That rock-like skin that's supposed to be nearly impenetrable just folds. Vrecken's eyes go wide, the air explodes from his lungs. He's already done, he just doesn't know it yet. Second 2. Zeph and Morik come in from both sides, all 8 arms reaching. Smart move, theoretically. Humans can't defend against attacks from multiple angles simultaneously. Everyone knows that, except Riker drops low. I mean shockingly low. His knees nearly touching the ground and sweeps Morik's lead leg. 4 arms means nothing when you're airborne and confused. Morik goes down hard, face first into the cafeteria floor. I hear his nose break from here. That's 2 cracked facial bones and a concussion. Medical bay, bed 3, second 3. Riker's already moving up from the sweep, and this is where it gets beautiful in a horrifying way. He catches Zeph's descending punch, not blocking it, catching it, and uses the momentum to yank Zeph forward, while driving his knee up. The impact point is Zeph's solar plexus. All 4 of Zeph's arms spasm at once. He makes this wheezing sound like a deflating balloon. 3 cracked ribs, possible internal bleeding. Medical bay, bed 4, with monitoring. Second 4. Dren finally processes what's happening and lunges forward, toxic skin fully active. Those secretions can cause paralysis on contact. Riker doesn't try to dodge. He grabs Dren's wrist, spins and uses a joint lock that hyperextends the Scalex's elbow in a direction elbows definitely should not go. The snap is audible. Dren screams. Riker shoves him away without ever touching the toxic skin. Dislocated elbow, compound fracture, psychological trauma, medical bay, bed 5, heavy sedation recommended. Second 5. This is my favorite part, and I feel terrible about that. Cove and Tillix rush in together, thinking their crystalline bone structure gives them an advantage. Riker drops his center of gravity again, this time shooting forward between them. As he passes, he delivers 2 rapid strikes, 1 to each of their knees, hitting from the side. That crystalline structure that makes them so proud, turns out it doesn't bend, it shatters. Both of them collapse like demolished buildings. Synchronized knee reconstructions, medical bay, beds 6 and 7, orthopedic specialist required. Second 6. Gorn, the Pelaxian megafauna, finally overcomes his shock and charges. He weighs 400 pounds. He's built like a biological tank. His species once trampled through fortified positions during the sector wars. He gets within 3 feet of Riker before the human sidesteps, grabs a chair in one fluid motion, and swings it like he's playing some Deathworld sport. The chair connects Garn's head. The chair, this cheap cafeteria furniture, this thing made from compressed recyclables, explodes into pieces. Garn's head snaps to the side. His legs keep moving forward, while his brain heads down for emergency maintenance. He face plants into a table, flips over it, and lands in a heap on the other side. Severe concussion, possible skull fracture, dignity completely destroyed. Medical bay, bed 8, full neurological scan. Second 7. Reckon. Remember him? He's still bent over from that first elbow strike, trying to remember how breathing works. Riker walks back to him, casual as can be, and delivers a hammer fist to the back of Reckon's head. Not hard enough to cause permanent damage. Humans are weirdly good at calibrating their violence, but hard enough to shut down the party. Reckon joins Morik on the floor. Spinal compression, mild traumatic brain injury, shattered ego. Medical bay, bed 9 and maybe some therapy. 7 seconds. 7 opponents. 7 medical beds occupied. Riker stands in the middle of this carnage, breathing slightly elevated, not even winded, and calmly walks back to his table. He sits down. He picks up his fork. He continues eating his Deathworld protein brick like he just got back from a light jog. Camera 9 catches the whole cafeteria. 300 cadets sitting in absolute silence, watching this human casually chew his food while 7 of the Academy's most notorious bullies leak various fluids onto the floor around him. Someone drops a tray in the kitchen. The clang echoes like thunder. 50 cadets flinch simultaneously. Riker doesn't even look up. I pause the footage right there and reach for my emergency whiskey. The expensive stuff, because I'm going to need it for the report I have to write. How do I explain this? How do I put into official documentation that 7 experienced combatants, from species specifically selected for military service due to their physical advantages, got absolutely demolished by one human who was annoyed about his lunch being interrupted? How do I explain that he made it look easy? My security team arrives at the cafeteria exactly 45 seconds after the incident ends. 45 seconds, which means they missed the entire thing and now have to deal with the aftermath, which honestly is worse. I watch Officer Kren, a good kid, Valorian, 3 years on the job, enter through the main doors with his hand on his shock baton. He takes one look at the scene, 7 bodies scattered across the floor in various states of consciousness and regret. One human calmly eating lunch, and I can see his antenna droop in confusion. The audio picks up his voice. What in the name of the founders happened here? 300 witnesses. Not one speaks up initially. They're all staring at Riker like he's a live explosive device that might detonate again if someone makes eye contact wrong. Finally, a Vintherian cadet, name of Chelix according to my database, raises one tentacle hesitantly. The human. They attacked him. He defended himself. Kren looks at the 7 fallen bullies, then at Riker, then back at the bullies. All 7? He fought all 7. Fought implies it was a competition. Another voice calls out. I check the ID. Syntherian female, senior year. What we witnessed was more like educational demonstration. The medical team arrives next, and bless their hearts, they come prepared. Dr. Bryn, our station medical officer, a Quellan with 30 years experience, takes one professional look at the casualties and starts barking orders. I need 7 gurneys now. Get me the orthopedic kit, the neurological scanner, and someone find out what species secretions we're dealing with on patient 4. Move, people. Through all of this, Riker just keeps eating. Kren approaches his table carefully, like someone approaching a wild animal that just took down a pack of predators. Cadet Donovan, I need you to come with me. Riker looks up, swallows, wipes his mouth with a napkin. Am I under arrest, officer? I know. Maybe. I need to take a statement. Cool. Riker stands, picks up his tray. Let me just dump this first. Cafeteria rules, you know. He walks past 7 groaning, bleeding bullies, past 300 shocked witnesses, past my security team, to the disposal station. He scrapes his plate. He sorts his recyclables properly. He places his tray in the return slot. Then he turns to Kren with this pleasant, cooperative smile and says, "Ready when you are, officer. I love my job. I hate my job." The administrative response is where things get really interesting. Captain Torex, Academy Commandant, Krell species, 40 years military service, veteran of 2 wars and countless diplomatic nightmares, has to sit across from this human cadet and figure out what to do about this situation. I've got the interview room footage right here. Torex has all the incident reports, all the witness statements, all the medical documentation. He's been reviewing it for 2 hours. Riker sits across from him, relaxed, patient, completely at ease. Cadet Donovan, Torex begins, and I can hear the exhaustion in his voice. 7 cadets are currently in medical bay. 7. Do you understand the severity of this situation? Yes, sir. I do. Riker's tone is respectful, professional. 7 cadets initiated an unprovoked assault. I defended myself using appropriate force. Academy Regulation 4-7-2, subsection 3. A cadet has the right to self-defense when faced with imminent physical threat. Torex's eye twitches. Just slightly. Appropriate force. Yes, sir, son. You hospitalized 7 beings in 7 seconds. Yes, sir. I timed my response to neutralize the threat as quickly as possible to minimize overall harm. If I dragged it out, someone might have gotten seriously hurt. The silence in that interview room could crush steel. Torex stares at this human, this creature from a nightmare planet, who just made a logical argument that fighting 7 opponents faster somehow reduced casualties. The terrifying part is he's right. Torex closes the folder. The 7 cadets who attacked you have been expelled from the academy, effective immediately. Assault, intimidation, violation of conduct code. You, Cadet Donovan, are officially cleared of any wrongdoing. Self-defense, textbook application, dismissed. Riker stands, salutes. Thank you, sir. Donovan. Sir? Torex leans forward. How much were you holding back? Riker's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Respectfully, sir, I'd prefer not to answer that question. The Commandant nods slowly. Dismissed. And just like that, the unspoken rule gets carved into academy culture. You can argue with humans, you can compete with them, you can even dislike them, but you don't, ever, under any circumstances, throw the first punch, because they've been throwing punches at a planet that spent 4 billion years trying to kill them. and they got pretty good at it. The cafeteria incident hits the Academy gossip network faster than a warp jump. By the next morning, everyone knows. By the afternoon, the story has mutated into 17 different versions, each more dramatic than the last. I've compiled some of the best ones from intercepted communications. My personal favorite claims Riker fought off 15 attackers while juggling chainsaws and reciting Deathworld poetry. I don't even know where to start with that one. But the real reactions, those are more interesting than the rumors. Camera footage from the following day shows cadets literally changing their walking routes to avoid Riker in the corridors. Not running away. That would be too obvious, too embarrassing. Just casual path adjustments. Suddenly, everyone needs to check their data pads. Oh look, a really interesting wall panel. Wow, this other hallway is so much more efficient. A group of Pelaxian cadets, same species as Goran, holds an actual meeting in the recreation hall. I've got the audio. They're debating whether to formally apologize to Riker on behalf of their species for Goran's involvement. One of them, a female named Kessa, argues that humans might interpret silence as continued hostility. Another counters that approaching a human after what happened might be seen as a challenge. They never do approach him. Smart choice. The training yards become a study in careful distance management. Sparring sessions with human cadets suddenly have waiting lists. Everyone wants to learn from Deathworlders now, but actual close contact practice has mysteriously fewer volunteers. Funny how that works. Meanwhile, in Medical Bay, the 7 bullies are having what I can only describe as a religious experience. I've got statements from Dr. Bryn, who reports that all 7 have been remarkably quiet, cooperative and deeply philosophical about their injuries. Riker, the lead genius, apparently spent his entire first conscious hours staring at the ceiling and muttering, "So fast, he was so fast." Over and over. Corthians don't typically experience existential crises. Congratulations, Riker. You're a pioneer. Zeph and Morik refuse to be in the same room unless their beds are positioned where they can both see the door. When asked why, Morik just says, "Need to see him coming next time." There isn't going to be a next time, but trauma doesn't care about logic. Dren requested a transfer to a different station. Request denied. We're not rewarding failure with relocation. He's currently in therapy. His therapist reports he wakes up from nightmares about joint locks. I feel bad, but also, you attacked someone eating lunch, so here's where it spreads beyond the academy. Instructor Halvan Reese, combat tactics, Etherian, decorated veteran, former special operations, calls me into his office 3 days after the incident. He's got the footage playing on loop on his screen. Cord, I've been teaching combat for 22 years. I've trained operatives from 40 species. I need you to understand what I'm looking at here. Sir, that human, Donovan. He's not trained in any formal military combat system. I've checked his records. Basic self-defense courses from Earth. Standard academy hand-to-hand, nothing special. What he did in that cafeteria, that wasn't training. That was instinct. He adapted to 7 different opponents, 7 different physiologies, 7 different attack patterns, in real time without thinking about it. Halvan pauses the footage right at second 5, where Riker's shattering those crystalline knees. We're not teaching humans how to fight, Cord. We're teaching them how to fight nicely, how to use minimum force, how to show restraint, because what they bring naturally, that's something we spent centuries trying to breed out of our own species. The gossip in the instructor's lounge, which I absolutely do not monitor for entertainment purposes, officially becomes a debate about human limitations, or rather the lack thereof. I heard humans can go 3 days without water.
3 days?
Try a week if they're motivated. Their pain tolerance is off the charts. Something about adrenaline. Adrenaline. Right. The chemical that turns them into temporary super soldiers when threatened. Because that's not terrifying at all. The final consensus among the instructors is unofficial but unanimous. Human cadets get passing grades in combat courses just for showing up and not accidentally hospitalizing anyone. By week's end, Riker Donovan's reputation has solidified into something approaching legend. He's the human who fought 7, won in 7 seconds, and went back to lunch. The scary part? Nobody thinks it's an exaggeration anymore. So here I am. 2 weeks after the incident, finishing my official report, 7 pages of carefully worded bureaucratic language that basically says, humans are scary, don't poke them, case closed. I should submit it and move on. I've got other cases, other problems, other reasons to question my career choices. But something keeps nagging at me about this whole situation. So I do something probably stupid. I request a private meeting with Riker Donovan. He shows up at my office exactly on time. Because of course he does. Humans are weirdly punctual. He sits down across from my desk, same relaxed posture, same calm expression. Like we're about to discuss the weather instead of the fact that he turned 7 cadets into medical statistics. Cadet Donovan, this is off the record. Not part of any investigation. I just need to know something. Sure, Officer Cord. That fight, in the cafeteria. You told the Commandant you were holding back. Riker nods slowly. I did say that. How much? He leans back in his chair, considering the question. Then he does something that makes my blood run cold. He smiles. Not the confident smirk from before. Something sadder, more tired. Officer, those 7 cadets walked away with broken bones, concussions, damaged joints, painful injuries, sure, scary injuries, absolutely. But they all walked into medical bay conscious. They all received treatment. They're all going to make full recoveries. Every single one of them gets to go home to their families someday and tell stories about their time at the academy. That doesn't answer my question. Yeah, it does. Riker's smile fades. I'm trained in 17 different ways to kill someone with my bare hands. I didn't use any of them. I'm trained to target vital organs, major arteries, structural weak points in non-human physiology. I avoided all of them. What I did in that cafeteria, that was the gentlest possible response to 7 beings trying to hurt me. The gentlest response. 7 hospitalized cadets. Gentlest. You could have killed them. All of them. In about the same amount of time. He says it matter-of-factly, like he's discussing lunch options. But they were stupid kids making a stupid mistake. They didn't deserve to die. They deserved to learn a lesson and live to apply it. So that's what I gave them. I sit there processing this. This human, this product of a death world that somehow produced a species capable of calculated mercy in the middle of combat, just explained that his 7-second beatdown was an act of kindness. Officer Cord, can I ask you something? Why does everyone seem so surprised you've got our files? You know where we come from. You know what Earth is classified as. Did you think those classifications were exaggerations? I don't have an answer for that. Or maybe I do, and I just don't want to say it out loud. We all thought the reports were exaggerated. We all assumed human capabilities were inflated by propaganda, or fear, or misunderstanding. We were wrong. Riker stands, gives me a polite nod, and heads for the door. He pauses at the threshold. For what it's worth, officer, most humans are trying really hard to fit in here, to be good partners in this whole galactic community thing. We know we're different. We know we're scary. We're working on it. Then he's gone, and I'm alone with my report, and my thoughts, and the growing realization that humanity isn't trying to show us how dangerous they are. They're trying to show us how gentle they can be, and somehow that's even more terrifying. I submit my report with one additional recommendation. It gets approved immediately and distributed to every Galactic Naval Academy in the sector. New official policy effective immediately. Section 12, Subsection 4, Paragraph 7. When encountering human cadets in non-combat situations, remember that their restraint is a courtesy, not a limitation. Treat them with the respect you would afford any colleague. Do not test their patience. Do not challenge their boundaries. Do not assume their calm demeanor indicates inability to respond to threats. Above all, do not interrupt their meals. I add one final note to my personal log, the one nobody else sees. Today I learned that the most dangerous species in the galaxy isn't the one that evolved to kill efficiently. It's the one that evolved to kill efficiently and then chose deliberately to be kind instead. Humans terrify me, but I'm starting to think that having them on our side might be the best thing that ever happened to this academy. Just don't tell them I said that. And for the love of all that's sacred, don't mess with them in the cafeteria. Officer Plixon Cord, signing off. Case closed. Lesson learned. Humans are friends, not food. Well, technically they're both, but let's not think about that too hard.